right, welcome to the deep dive. So what we do here is take source material, could be articles, notes, research you've sent us, and really slice through it.
Yeah, pull out the key insights, the important bits.
Exactly. Give you that shortcut to knowing what's what on a topic. And today we're getting into a classic dilemma for writers, choosing between an adventure bike and a touring bike. I mean, they both sound like they're for big trips, right?
They do, but as the source material we're looking at points out, they're really built for fundamentally different kinds of travel. It's a big choice.
It really is, because it kind of defines the whole experience you're signing up for. We've got an article here that tackles this head on.
That's right. It's titled Adventure Bikes versus Touring Bikes. Which one is right for you? Pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
And it does a good job laying out the differences.
So our mission for this deep dive is to unpack that article. We'll dig into the core distinctions it makes, look at the strengths, the weaknesses it highlights for each bike type.
And figure out the ideal scenarios for each one.
Yeah, ultimately, it's about helping you see which way the needle points for your own riding dreams. I'm definitely ready to get into the weeds on this one.
Me too. The details matter here.
Yeah.
So the source starts by defining each category, helps set the stage.
Okay, good place to start. First up, adventure bikes, sometimes called ADVs or dual sports. What's the core idea according to the source?
Oh, right off the bat, the article defines them by one main thing: versatility. That's the key word.
Versatility, how so?
They're designed to handle, well, pretty much everything. Smooth roads, sure, but also genuinely rough off-road trails. The article says they try to blend the toughness of a dirt bike with the comfort and power you'd expect from a street bike. It's a mix.
Gotcha, a blend. So what specific features does the source mention that allow for that versatility? What's the tech?
It points straight to their off-road capability. So you're looking at things like long travel suspension. That means the wheels can move up and down a lot more.
So big bumps, right?
Exactly. Absorbs hits on uneven ground. Then you've got skid plates underneath to protect the engine from rocks, debris, stuff like that.
Critical for off-road.
Absolutely. And knobby tires, with those aggressive treads for grip on loose stuff like dirt or gravel. The whole design is just rugged. Strong frames, protective bits like crash bars. They're built anticipating things might get a little rough.
Yeah. Okay, so serious off-road chops built onto a road-legal bike. Where does the article say these machines really come into their own best use cases?
Well, it really depends on where you want to go. The source highlights exploring trails, so heading into forests, deserts, mountains, places without pavement.
Right.
They're also great for mixed terrain travel, those big trips where you'll be hitting highways and unpaved sections. Yeah. Fundamentally, the article says they're for adventure enthusiasts, riders who are really prioritizing exploration, excitement, maybe over pure, plush comfort.
So if you see a dirt road peeling off the main route and your first thought is, ooh, wonder where that goes.
Yeah, the ADV is made for exactly that impulse.
The source really captures that, calling them the ultimate choice for pushing boundaries and embracing the unknown.
Yeah, it nails it. It's about the journey and finding those less traveled paths.
Okay, let's flip the coin then. Touring bikes. The source paints a very different picture here, doesn't it?
Completely different focus. The article frames touring bikes as being all about comfort, convenience, and covering huge distances. But, and this is key specifically on paved roads, highways.
Right.
They're designed to offer a really luxurious experience for those long hauls on asphalt.
Okay, so less about dodging boulders, more about settling in for the long ride. What features does the article highlight for that comfort and convenience?
It talks about comfortable ergonomics. That means things like an upright, relaxed seating position, really plush seats, foot pegs placed so you can just cruise comfortably for hours.
No, it's nice.
Yeah, and a huge one is storage capacity. They usually come standard with big hard panniers, those side cases, and top boxes on the back.
Built-in luggage, basically.
Exactly. Or sometimes fully integrated systems. You can pack a lot. And performance-wise, it highlights smooth performance, optimized for highway cruising, powerful engines tuned for effortless miles, and suspension focused on stability on smooth surfaces.
So lots of storage, armchair comfort. Who's the ideal rider for this, according to the source?
Well, clearly, they're perfect for long road trips. Think cross-country, multi-day tours. They are masters of highway cruising, just eating up miles smoothly and effortlessly on pavement. And they're explicitly for comfort-focused riders, people who value relaxation, practicality, maybe carrying a passenger comfortably, and lots of gear. tackling rough terrain isn't really on their agenda.
Makes sense. If your dream trip is seeing the country via its highways and scenic paved routes, and you want to bring stuff along and feel good doing it,
Then the touring bike is purpose-built for you.
the source sums them up well, too. Calls them the ultimate choice for exploring the open road without sacrificing comfort.
Yeah, two very distinct approaches to motorcycle travel laid out right there.
And the article really hammers home those differences in the main comparison section. It stresses that even though both are for long distance, how they do it is totally different because their intended worlds are different.
Right, this is the part that really helps you weigh things up. The article breaks it down. First, design and build.
And the contrast here is pretty stark, isn't it? Adventure bikes, the source says, are all about ruggedness.
Yep. We mentioned the skid plates, crash bars, knobby tires. They also have higher ground clearance, more space underneath.
Crucial for clearing obstacles.
Exactly. The seating's upright, which is actually better for standing up on the pegs when things get bumpy off-road. The source also notes they're often lighter than the big tours, though some can still feel pretty substantial.
Okay, and the touring bikes.
They prioritize luxury and integrated design. Sleeker look, that built-in storage. Lower ground clearance because they don't expect to hit rocks. The riding position is more relaxed, maybe even slightly reclined, purely for highway comfort.
And generally heavier.
Yeah, generally heavier because of all the comfort features, fairings, luggage systems, bigger engines sometimes.
Okay, rugged utility versus smooth luxury in the design. What about performance and handling? How do they differ there?
The source says adventure bikes excel in mixed terrains. That long travel suspension gives them much better handling off-road. They feel more agile, nimbler.
Which you need on trails.
Definitely.
Hmm.
For maneuvering on rough or unpaved roads, their engines are typically tuned for versatility, usable power in lots of different situations, not just highway speed.
And the touring bike's performance, how's that described?
Optimized for stability and smoothness, but specifically on paved roads, highways, they feel less agile, heavier.
Less flickable.
Right. But that weight and design make them incredibly stable and planted at high speeds on the freeway. Very confidence-inspiring there. Their engines usually prioritize smooth torque and endurance for effortless cruising, not necessarily the snappy response you might want off-road.
Okay, agility and all-terrain capability for the ADV versus rock-solid stability and smooth power for the tourer. What's the last big comparison point the source makes?
Comfort and ergonomics. This is a big one. For adventure bikes, that upright position and wide handlebars help manage fatigue when you're working the bike off-road, standing up, shifting weight.
Right?
The seats are usually durable, but the source implies maybe not always the most plush for just droning down the highway for hours. And wind protection from fairings and windscreens can be more limited or maybe adjustable to work better when standing.
And touring bikes, conversely, are just built for maximum comfort.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
Plush, ergonomic seats, foot pegs set up for all day, multi-day relaxation. They typically offer excellent wind protection from big fairings and windscreens.
To reduce fatigue.
Exactly. Designed specifically to minimize fatigue over long distances on pavement. They want you to arrive feeling relatively fresh.
Man, those differences really drive home the point. The source isn't just comparing bikes, it's comparing two totally different philosophies for long rides.
That's a great way to put it. And that leads directly into the really practical part. Which one is right for you?
Ah, the million-dollar question.
Well, the source frames it nicely. It says that the decision really hinges on your specific riding goals, the terrain you actually plan to ride, and, your lifestyle.
Right. This is where you got to be honest with yourself. The article gives some key questions to ponder. First, consider your riding style.
Yeah. Are you the kind of rider who gets excited by exploring trails, dirt paths, those roads less traveled? Does the idea of mixing pavement and off-road on one trip appeal to you?
If yes.
Then the adventure bike's design really aligns with that style. Or are your dream rides mostly on highways, scenic paved roads? Is long-distance comfort on asphalt the main goal?
Then touring makes more sense.
That's what the source suggests, yeah. It points towards the touring bike for that comfort-focused approach.
Okay, next point. Evaluate your needs. What about practicality?
Right. Do you need one bike to do a bit of everything? Maybe commute, weekend exploration, light touring if you pack smart. The source suggests the ADV is that versatile do-it-all option. Or do you need serious storage? For lots of luggage, camping gear, maybe riding two-up frequently, and is convenience on well-planned, paved journeys the top priority?
Then the tour's built-in capacity is key.
Exactly. That points strongly towards the touring bike, which comes ready for that kind of use.
And the final factor, Think about terrain preferences. This seems crucial.
It really is. Do you want a bike that can genuinely handle diverse conditions? Rocks, mud, gravel, and highways, even if it feels maybe a little less refined on perfect pavement.
That's the ADV's playground.
That's its strength. Or are you pretty much sticking to smooth paved surfaces? And you understand that taking a big touring bike onto really rough stuff would be, well, difficult or maybe even damaging.
Then you accept the Tour's limitations for its strengths elsewhere.
Right. That's the trade-off. The source really emphasizes that thinking honestly about these points helps you match the bike to your reality.
Makes sense. And the source conveniently wraps this up with a pros and cons list for each. A quick summary.
Yeah, it's a useful snapshot. Really boils down the trade-offs.
Okay, so for adventure bikes, the pros listed are versatile, genuinely capable on and off-road, exciting, great for adventure, exploration, and rugged, built tough.
Sounds about right.
The cons can be less comfortable than a tourer on very long highway stretches. Some models feel bulky or tall, especially at low speeds, and they often have limited storage standard you usually need to add luggage.
Okay, fair points. Now for touring bikes.
Pros are benchmark for comfort over long distances, excellent storage capacity built in, and incredibly stable for smooth highway riding.
The core strengths.
Yep. And the cons? Limited off-road capability, basically. Keep them on the pavement. They feel less agile because they're bigger and heavier. And they can be expensive, often due to all the features and tech.
Seeing it laid out like that really helps, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It makes it clear what you're gaining and what you're giving up with each choice.
Totally. You're choosing which set of compromises you're happier with based on what you want to do. Ultimate capability versus ultimate comfort, maybe?
Something like that.
The source makes it clear neither is objectively better. They're just different tools for different adventures.
Which brings us nicely to the end of this deep dive into the source material.
Yeah.
As that article really clarifies, choosing between these two amazing types of bikes comes down to your vision, your needs, where you want to go.
Yeah, to quickly recap the source's conclusion, adventure bikes are calling out to the explorers, the riders who crave versatility and aren't afraid to leave the pavement behind. While touring bikes are built for riders focused on comfort, covering huge distances smoothly on paved roads and needing that practicality and storage. Luxury on wheels, almost.
The article leaves you, the listener, with a really great final question to mull over. It basically sums everything up. Ask yourself, do you want to conquer rugged trails and embrace the unknown?
Or do you prefer smooth highways and scenic rides with all the comforts of home?
Answering that one honestly, based on everything we've unpacked from the source, that's probably the best way to feel confident in your decision.
Couldn't agree more. Well, that wraps up this deep dive. Thanks for joining us.